Hey there, welcome. I'm Damien and I'm just another starving artist on the internet. Let me start this video by telling you that I had a really hard time coming up with an idea for what I should talk about, and that's why I'm talking about ArtBlock. I just had ArtBlock and decided to talk about it, why it happens, and how to deal with it. This is just something you will experience at some point if you engage with any sort of creative process regularly, and experience it you will, believe me, many times, and it's not a nice feeling, but it just comes with the job. But before that, let me introduce you to today's original character. This is Eva, a Frankenstein's monster-inspired seamstress. Oh, that's a mouthful, try saying it fast 3 times. Anyway, she's an original character from a game I'm making called Mysterious Manor, and if you like my work, you can find all my social media in the link in the description. If you would like to support me, you can find my Ko-fi and Patreon page in the same link. But if you want something physical and solid in return for your support, you can get a print of this drawing from my shop, available in 4 different sizes, or a keychain featuring the same character. Okay, but what even is ArtBlock? Most of us will have gone through some form of ArtBlock at some point, but for the lucky few among us that have yet to experience this, ArtBlock is often seen as a temporary inability to come up with ideas or being unsatisfied with the things you're coming up with. There are those that will claim that ArtBlock is not real, and the few arguments I've read and seen defending this position clearly do not understand the issue, and it really baffles me how hard they miss the point. It has nothing to do with being lazy or just not wanting to draw. It is not fixed by picking up a pencil and just doing something. When you are in this situation, when you have ArtBlock, you're not there because you want to, and you have probably tried and tried not to be there because it is not a pleasant feeling. When you're an artist, it is very frustrating to be so overwhelmingly unsatisfied with your own creative endeavors, the lack of interesting ideas, and feeling stuck. These feelings are real, and you shouldn't ignore them. Sometimes the answer is to just power through them like a bulldozer, but that will depend on why you feel this way, and the type of person you are. This topic is more about people than it is about art, and people are complicated and not everything works for everyone. I will now give you a few of the usual suspects of ArtBlock providers, and how you can possibly deal with them. I don't promise 100% effective solutions, because I can't, but maybe they work as a starting point for you to look into yourself and find what works for you. So, what to do if you can't think of anything to draw? This is a type of ArtBlock I suffer from the least, and it's because of the solution I'm about to offer. Large-scale projects. If you constantly find yourself wanting to draw, but you don't exactly know what, or feel like you haven't gone out of your comfort zone in a long time, I recommend starting a big project. It doesn't need to be your life's work or something that will take years of your life. In fact, it shouldn't. We just want to get you creating something for now. If that project turns out to be something you want to spend more time on and develop it to a larger scale, then that's good, but that's not the main reason you want to start it. I'm talking about a project that will take you more than just a handful of drawings, but not thousands, something like a short comic. And if you know nothing about making comics, that's fine. That's even better, actually. Don't spend too long thinking of world building, power systems, a cast of 600 characters with deep backstories and character arcs. You don't need any of that. Come up with a character that you like and draw what they do in their daily life. Daily life doesn't mean boring reality either. You can do any type of fantasy with magic and stuff, but don't bother explaining it. Just go with vibes and start drawing it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you might be tempted to fall into world building hell. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what we want in this case. It doesn't matter if you're not familiar with the process of making a comic. You can learn that later. Again, just get drawing and go with vibes. This is not a work you're planning to share on social media. It doesn't need to be good. It will probably not be good, but you will draw things that you normally don't. New perspectives and emotions, backgrounds and objects, among many other things, and it will give you a clear idea on what to improve if you want to spend time on any specific aspect of your art. Maybe open the possibility to expand this work, and now you can think about the inner workings of your story, your setting and all that, as well as learning how to make comics. This is actually kind of how this project of mine, The Mysterious Manor, that's how it started. I have this way of thinking about new works where I really struggle to draw anything unless I come up with personalities and build up that character that I'm working on, even if they're just silly sketches and I never do anything with them ever again. But maybe it's not that you don't have ideas. Perhaps art is making you feel overwhelmed and like you can't keep up, or there's too much on your plate and you can't handle it. You know, it's alright to stop and relax away from art for some time. Your headspace affects your art a lot, and just pushing through and moving on in this situation will just make it worse. You are burnt out, you have creative fatigue. Creativity is like a muscle. You can train it and you can learn to be more creative. It's not really something we are born with, but it also gets tired and you can overexert yourself to the point of injury. Sometimes that injury can be long-term if things get really bad and you don't allow yourself to rest appropriately. I'm now 27 years old and I like to think I'm still young, but because of my bad artistic habits that I've been carrying since I was a young child, I've been having chronic back pain for several years now, and my hand and wrist are definitely messed up. I take better care of my body now, but those pains are here to stay. This is not just a warning to take care of your body before it's too late, but if you're not careful, the same can happen to your head. It may be just ArtBlock now, but if you don't rest properly and you let the burnout take hold, you can creatively cripple yourself. I have seen it myself, people who used to consider themselves artists, who no longer do art. They were really good, I can't even compare my work to what they used to make, and they asked too much of themselves. And eventually, it was far too much and they gave up on art. All this to say that if you need to rest, if you need to get away from art for a bit, then do it. Go take a walk, play a game, I don't know, take a nap, anything. Sometimes behind the wall, you will find another wall. So instead of pointlessly smashing through it, just walk around it. But there are times when these things are not really the problem. You know what you're doing, it just doesn't look good. You keep going at it and nothing. You know you can draw better than this. You have done it before, but you're not doing it today. Your art looks bad and you start to question yourself. You look at your older drawings and see what you did and wonder if it was a fluke, if you're not actually good at art, if you just got really lucky and the luck has finally run out and everyone will see that you were faking it all along. You realize you're a fraud. That's imposter syndrome, and we all go through that regularly. By we, I mean artists and creators. This happens from time to time. Your eye-hand coordination just goes out the window, and suddenly we can't make good drawings. Same as before, go distract yourself for a bit before trying again. If you keep going at it while you're still frustrated and feeling down, it will affect the way you draw even more, and it just gets worse. It doesn't really help. However, if on the other hand, you have been away from art for a while, for example, I've been quite busy the last month or so, and I've barely been able to draw much at all. So the pencil in my hand doesn't feel quite right at the moment. I just need to warm up to it a bit more before I'm in top shape again, artistically speaking, of course. And then there's motivation. I know I have been telling you for a few minutes now that if you need to take a break, you should do it and not feel guilty about it because you're not on that Sigma grind set constantly lifting metaphorical artistic dumbbells. But at the same time, I'm assuming that you're an artist and you wish to create things. That's why you worry about ArtBlock in the first place. But we are creatures of habit. You start working on something and you build that momentum to the point you burn out, but rest a little and that little soon becomes much more, and now you're constantly procrastinating. We take the path of least resistance, and there's always an invisible internal resistance that we have to fight against in order to create. I understand that you may have problems, real problems that stop you from doing art, but I know that a lot of us, myself included, are just making excuses. This last month that I was really busy, that's an excuse. I could have perfectly kept working just a little here and there, and it wouldn't have inconvenienced me at all. Instead, I did other things to distract myself, not for the sake of coming back refreshed and ready to create, but for the sake of avoiding it. I'm not going to pretend I'm above empty, hollow procrastination and unhealthy habits, because I'm not, and I like to be honest about my art and artistic processes. This lack of motivation can be even further intensified by any of the problems I have mentioned before, as well as any other problem that may be going on in your life. That's why I want to remind you of the first solution I brought up, the large-scale projects, because I believe that's a perfect solution for almost any kind of artwork that isn't caused by burnout, obviously. However, let me expand a little bit more on how to approach it. There is a thing known as blank page syndrome, where you stare at the empty page you're supposed to draw or write on, unable to come up with anything worth doing. I believe this comes from a fear of messing up because you want to make something good. Maybe even beyond that, something perfect, or at the very least the culmination of your current artistic abilities. This is why many younger artists and writers tend to fall into world-building hell. World-building hell, I mentioned earlier, if you don't know, It's what happens when you try to write a story but get stuck for years developing the politics, culture, religion, magic systems, geology, biology, and everything about the world your story takes place in, while doing very minimal work on the story itself. That can be a very good exercise for some specific types of projects, but in the vast majority of cases, it's a procrastination method born out of that fear of your work not being perfect, saying things like, I will start drawing the story when I have the entire world figured out, or my art can't make it justice now, so I'm doing the world building until my art is good enough. Let me tell you another story. Back in 2013, I read a manga called Bakuman, and it made me want to become a professional mangaka. The manga is about making manga. I still want to make manga and have some projects I want to do eventually, but I have changed my opinion about wanting to work with a manga publisher. Anyway, getting back on track, from 2013 to 2016, I made a manga that I was posting online. You won't find it anywhere now because I deleted it. It was garbage. I drew around 300 pages of this story I came up with, and I didn't finish it because I was young, and ever since I have changed a lot as a person and as an artist. If I decided to hold on in drawing that story and focus instead on writing it and making sure everything makes sense and it's perfect, I will still be rewriting it today without having a single page drawn. Whatever good ideas you have now will not be good ideas in a few years down the line, and you can always do better later. So just make the jump, commit to whatever you have now, and make something without that pressure of self-imposed perfection. Start with silly sketches, do fan art if you want, a fanfic comic for example. It's going to be bad, and that's good. I know this video may feel like a bunch of nonsensical ramblings from a random internet artist with a very small following, but art, just like people, is messy and self-contradicting like that. And that is all I have to say for now. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful, if only a little. Please let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything I said, or if you have any suggestions for things you want me to talk about in future videos. And like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things that make the algorithm happy. We are now seeing the final drawing, and remember, if you like my work, there's my socials, shop, Patreon and Coffee page. I told you about them earlier, down in the description. So yeah, keep drawing, keep getting better, and I'll see you next time.